Cancer, ruled by the moon, moves through the world cloaked in the silver light of emotion and mystery. To the outside observer, Cancer may seem delicate, gentle, or even overly sentimental. There is a softness to their presence that invites both affection and skepticism from others. Like the moon reflecting on still water, they appear calm, nurturing, and emotionally available. Some may interpret this as fragility, as if Cancer were too vulnerable for the rough edges of the world. They may be seen as overly cautious, retreating often into their shell, reluctant to take risks or speak loudly. To those who only glance at the surface, Cancer can seem passive, overly attached to the past, or lost in emotion. Yet behind this gentle facade lies a fortress. Cancer is not weak. Cancer is the storm hidden behind the tide. Their emotions are not limitations but ancient rivers of intuition that have carved their wisdom through lifetimes. Those born under this sign are not simply feeling creatures. They are psychic warriors, deeply attuned to the vibrations around them. They see what others cannot bear to admit. They hear the unsaid, sense the unresolved, and carry the silent burdens of those they love. Their empathy is not a symptom of softness, but a form of armor crafted from love and pain alike. When others turn away from discomfort, Cancer steps into it with grace. What others interpret as retreat is actually a sacred ritual of recharging. When Cancer withdraws, it is not to escape, but to listen more deeply. In solitude, they commune with the moon, the tides, and their own ancient wisdom. They emerge from these depths not diminished, but reborn. In a world that glorifies noise and speed, Cancer teaches the power of silence and stillness. They are the keepers of emotional truth, the protectors of the sacred hearth. They are the ones who know that softness does not mean surrender, and that nurturing is one of the most radical acts of strength. To underestimate Cancer is to misunderstand power itself. Beneath their gentle gaze lies a tenacious spirit. They protect those they love with a fierceness that rivals any warrior. Their loyalty is legendary, unwavering through the darkest storms. They build homes not just of brick and wood, but of trust, memory, and unconditional love. They are the architects of emotional sanctuary, able to turn chaos into comfort with a single gesture of kindness. And though their love may come quietly, it is an ocean vast, eternal, and capable of reshaping the land. In times of crisis, Cancer becomes the silent anchor. While others panic or flee, Cancer nurtures, supports, and holds the line. They are the soul of a mother, a healer, a priestess, a guardian of emotional legacy. They carry the memories of generations, the wisdom of ancestors, the tears of those who had no one to cry for them. Their heart is a sacred chalice, and what they pour into the world is transformative. While others see only the shimmer of their emotional surface, those who look deeper find strength beyond comprehension. And so, the image of Cancer is layered in illusion and revelation. To the world, they may appear vulnerable. To the wise, they are invincible. For Cancer is not simply a sign. It is a myth reborn in flesh, a moonlight warrior cloaked in tenderness, a force of nature disguised as a whisper. When Cancer walks among us, they carry the tide of humanity in their soul. And those fortunate enough to truly know them, know that they have met not weakness, but the most sacred form of strength. Love, unyielding and eternal. Cancer, though often misread as emotionally fragile, is one of the most spiritually ancient and cosmically rooted signs of the zodiac. Their essence is not just emotion but memory, the memory of the soul, the memory of the collective, the memory of what it means to be human. They are the living repositories of ancestral knowledge, channeling the emotional imprints of times long gone. Others may dismiss them as nostalgic or overly attached to the past. But what few understand is that Cancer's bond with history is a sacred act of preservation. They remember not to dwell but to protect, to ensure that what truly matters is never forgotten in the rush of the modern age. Their intuition is not merely emotional sensitivity. It is lunar wisdom flowing from the unseen dimensions. Cancer feels before the world knows, sensing the ripples in the energy around them, decoding silences with a precision that no logic can rival. This sensitivity, often mistaken for weakness, is in fact a superpower. It allows them to navigate relationships, environments, and even the future with uncanny clarity. They are the navigators of the heart's ocean, the ones who can chart a course in the dark, guided only by the pull of inner truth. Their ability to nurture is not limited to personal relationships. Cancer has a profound connection to the collective, often pouring themselves into causes, communities, and spaces that require emotional leadership. They are not loud revolutionaries, but quiet rebuilders of the emotional landscape. In boardrooms, classrooms, and creative studios, they bring humanity to every structure. They remind the world that without care, no empire can endure. They are the mother spirit in all things, whether male, female, or beyond gender, the divine archetype of care, of creation, of cyclical renewal. Many overlook the strategic brilliance of Cancer. While their decisions may appear emotionally driven, they often conceal a deep intelligence rooted in long observation and internalized wisdom. Their approach to challenges is rarely direct, but it is effective. Like the tide, they move subtly, wearing down the impossible until it yields. There is magic in their persistence, a soft pressure that never breaks but always bends. Their victory is inevitable because it is rooted in nature's rhythm, not in forced momentum. Cancer's relationship with vulnerability is not one of victimhood, but of conscious choice. They allow themselves to feel, to hurt, to cry not because they are powerless, but because they refuse to harden. In a world that rewards disconnection and numbing, Cancer is an act of rebellion. To remain open, to feel deeply, to love fully, this is their revolution. Their tears are not signs of collapse, but of release, purification, and power. They know that storms cleanse, that emotions renew, and that softness can crack stone. There is a sacred duality in Cancer's nature. They are both the sanctuary and the storm, both the womb and the wave. They can be the gentle hands that cradle you and the unstoppable force that protects what matters. They do not need to announce their strength because it lives in every quiet act of compassion, in every sleepless night spent tending to others, in every boundary held with love and certainty. They are the soul of the healer and the warrior merged into one, an embodiment of divine balance. Their loyalty is not given lightly, but once earned, it becomes a bond as eternal as the tides. They are the ones who will stand beside you through collapse and rebirth, who will remember you when you have forgotten yourself, who will rebuild your spirit with their quiet devotion. To be loved by a Cancer is to be held in a sanctuary woven from soul. It is to be reminded of your worth again and again, even when the world has turned away. Their love is not loud or performative. It is embedded in every action, every meal prepared, every word of comfort spoken without being asked. Their connection to the moon also gifts them with a cyclical wisdom. They understand life as a series of phases, knowing instinctively that nothing is permanent. Not pain, not joy, not darkness. They are not disoriented by change because they are change. They ebb and flow with the cosmic rhythm, embodying surrender without losing purpose. They can sit in silence with sorrow, then rise with new light. Cancer is the divine reminder that endings are always beginnings in disguise. And though the world may at times see them as overly inward, Cancer's internal world is a cosmos of its own, rich, deep, and endlessly creative. Many artists, poets, and visionaries are born under this sign, channeling their profound inner life into expressions that touch the universal heart. When Cancer creates, they do so not for fame, but for healing. Their art is a prayer. Their words are medicine. Their visions are blueprints for emotional evolution. In truth, Cancer is not simply a zodiac sign. It is a sacred archetype, a cosmic guardian of what truly matters. They are the memory keepers, the soul whisperers, the emotional architects of the future. The world may misunderstand them, may mistake their quietude for absence or their tears for fragility. But those who truly see Cancer know they are witnessing a force that sustains life itself. Not through domination, but through devotion. Not through fearlessness, but through sacred vulnerability. Cancer walks between worlds, grounded in the earth, yet forever illuminated by the moon. And through them, the universe remembers how to feel, how to heal, and how to love without end. Cancer is not only the guardian of emotion but the silent alchemist of energy, capable of transforming pain into power, fear into faith, and chaos into calm. Their connection to the moon does not just make them intuitive, it renders them attuned to the invisible tides that govern all existence. They do not merely read emotions. They read frequencies, atmospheres, and the subtle shifts in energy that most cannot name. This extrasensory perception is not a learned skill. It is an inheritance from the stars, a birthright bestowed upon them by the celestial mother herself. They feel in colors, dream in symbols, and speak in the language of soul. While others chase glory in the external world, Cancer masters the inner realm, where the true battles of life are fought. In the shadows of self-doubt, in the caverns of grief, in the silence of disappointment, Cancer holds their light steady. They are not threatened by darkness because they carry the moon within them, a guiding luminescence that never extinguishes. They understand that healing is not linear, that wholeness is born in the embrace of brokenness, and that the most powerful transformations happen not on stages or battlefields, but in the quiet spaces of the heart. Cancer's role in the zodiac is not to dominate but to anchor, not to conquer but to consecrate. They do not seek power over others but power with and power within. They carry the divine feminine current regardless of gender, a current that heals, nourishes, and restores. This energy is often unseen, uncelebrated, and unmeasured in traditional terms. Yet it is the very force that holds civilizations together. It is the hand that soothes a child, the voice that comforts the lost, the arms that rebuild after destruction. Cancer's gift is not spectacle but sanctity. They are the zodiac's sacred protectors, not just of people, but of values, of integrity, of emotional truth. They will fight, fiercely and without hesitation, to defend what is pure. This is not always obvious to outsiders, because their warfare is spiritual, their weapons are compassion and resilience. But make no mistake, when pushed beyond the edge, Cancer becomes tidal. They rise with the full force of their emotions, washing away falsehood, injustice, and cruelty. Their wrath is not reckless. It is righteous. It is the rage of love denied, of safety threatened, of truth distorted. And it is formidable. Cancer also carries within them an unparalleled power to regenerate. They do not merely survive hardship. They emerge from it with greater depth, greater empathy, and a more expansive heart. Where others close off after betrayal, Cancer opens wider. Where others become bitter after loss, Cancer becomes deeper. This ability to remain tender in the face of devastation is nothing less than divine. They are the proof that one can walk through fire and still offer water, that one can be wounded and still choose to heal others, that one can be shattered and still choose to sing. Their relationship to home goes far beyond physical space. For Cancer, home is a vibration. It is the energy of belonging, of safety, of sacred return. They carry it within them, offering it wherever they go. To be in their presence is to feel that you are no longer wandering, that you are seen and understood in the deepest, most authentic way. Cancer creates temples out of conversation, sanctuaries out of silence, and sacred ground out of the ordinary. Even in the most mundane moments, they bring meaning. Even in the smallest gestures, they offer soul. Though often perceived as quiet, Cancer's voice echoes across lifetimes. Their words are chosen with care, their silences are intentional, and their communication is laced with emotion that transcends logic. They are not interested in small talk but soul talk. They want to know what you carry in your dreams, what lives behind your eyes, what memories you never speak of. This depth can be intimidating to those unready to meet themselves. Yet for those who are ready, Cancer becomes a sacred mirror, reflecting not only who you are, but who you have always been beneath the noise. Their creativity is not always grand, but it is always sacred. Whether they are building a home, writing a story, cooking a meal, or tending to a garden, Cancer imbues everything they touch with meaning. They do not create for praise, they create because it is how they breathe, how they release, how they make sense of the inner and outer worlds. Their art is often understated, but it lingers in the soul. It heals in silence, blooms in stillness, and invites the viewer or receiver into a space of emotional rebirth. Astrologically, Cancer is cardinal water, the initiator of feeling, the birthplace of emotional life. They do not simply respond to emotion, they create it. They are the tide that begins the movement, the pulse that stirs before the wave, the cosmic signal that it is time to feel again. Their presence awakens hearts numbed by speed, reopens wounds closed too soon, and invites the world back into vulnerability. Through them, the zodiac learns to care again, not superficially but soulfully. And so, beneath every misjudged appearance of softness, every misunderstood act of silence, every quiet withdrawal, there is a being of immense power and holy purpose. Cancer is the sacred tide that cleanses, the cosmic mother that nurtures, the emotional visionary that sees what the world tries to forget. They are not here to be understood by the surface world. They are here to transform it from the inside out. Through empathy, through presence, through the unwavering belief that love, real, raw, unconditional love, is still the most powerful force in the universe. Cancer, as a water sign ruled by the ever-changing moon, exists in a sacred interplay between permanence and impermanence. What is often overlooked is their relationship with cycles, not just emotional tides, but life itself as a series of deaths and rebirths. Cancer is not merely reactive to cycles. They are the embodiment of them. They carry within them the echo of birth, the grief of endings, and the sacred pause of transformation. Every transition in life, be it a new love, the loss of a home, or the return to self, finds its archetype in Cancer's spirit. They are the threshold between what was and what will be, and they carry this liminality with grace. There is a mystical quality to Cancer's connection with time. They are often the ones who sense the significance of moments others overlook. A glance, a forgotten object, a long pause in a conversation. These are not meaningless details to Cancer, but doorways into understanding. Their perception stretches beyond the present moment into the past and future simultaneously. They live in the folds of time, where memory, instinct, and prophecy converge. This is why their insight can seem uncanny, as though they have lived it all before, because in many ways they have. Cancer draws wisdom not only from personal experience but from ancestral memory, soul memory, and the silent language of the universe. This connection to legacy makes them stewards of emotional heritage. Cancer often bears emotional responsibilities that others cannot carry. They are the ones who hold the family together in times of crisis, who remember what was sacred when others forget, who speak for the silenced and honor those long gone. In their bones lives the song of their lineage, and in their silence is the mourning of generations. They do not carry these burdens as weights, but as sacred trusts. Through them, ancestral wounds are healed, generational patterns are broken, and emotional truth is restored. Their relationship with nature is also profound. Cancer feels the pulse of the earth in their own heartbeat. They are sensitive to the changes in the sky, the rhythm of the seasons, the language of animals and plants. In a world that often separates humans from the natural world, Cancer remains rooted in the primal knowing that we are not above the earth, but of it. This attunement makes them natural healers, shamans, caretakers of the environment, and intuitive guardians of balance. Where there is disharmony, Cancer will sense it long before it manifests. And where there is disconnection, Cancer will seek to weave unity through their presence and compassion. The theme of sacred guardianship also extends to their spiritual path. Cancer often walks the quiet road of the mystic. They may not speak of their spirituality in grand terms, but their life is a prayer. The way they love, the way they remember, the way they protect, each is an invocation of the divine. They are the priestesses of emotion, the silent monks of memory, the soulful bards who translate feeling into truth. Even in solitude, Cancer is in communion with the moon, with their soul, with the collective heart of humanity. There is a quiet courage that defines them. It is not the kind that demands applause or claims victory on battlefields. It is the courage to remain tender in a world that numbs. The courage to sit with another's pain without rushing to fix it. The courage to face their own shadows without turning away. They are the ones who hold space for healing, for growth, for vulnerability. They are the ones who keep the light on in the dark, not through grand gestures, but through constancy, through love that endures even when it is not returned, through care that continues even when it is invisible. Cancer's intuition is not random. It is sacred architecture. It is the internal compass that allows them to build emotional structures where others only see fragments. They are the master builders of belonging. In friendships, in communities, in romantic bonds, they are the ones who weave the invisible threads that make a place feel like home. And when they leave, that warmth often leaves with them, revealing just how vital their presence truly was. Another aspect rarely acknowledged is Cancer's subtle leadership. They do not lead through dominance, but through presence. Their leadership is felt, not imposed. They influence through trust, through deep emotional intelligence, and through the wisdom to act not just in favor of progress, but in service of wholeness. They may be the quiet voice in the room, but when they speak, it is with the authority of the soul. Their power does not seek the spotlight, because it is light itself, radiating softly, consistently, unwaveringly, like the glow of the moon across the waters. And perhaps one of the most profound, underexplored powers of Cancer is their ability to forgive. Not in a way that condones harm, but in a way that liberates the soul. They understand that carrying resentment poisons the well of love. They forgive because they value peace over pride, because they know the weight of emotional wounds and choose not to deepen them. This forgiveness is not naive, it is revolutionary. It is the mark of a soul that has evolved beyond the need to punish and into the realm of healing. In every myth, in every era, in every culture, there is always a figure who keeps the sacred fire burning when all else has turned cold. In the zodiac, that figure is Cancer. They are the soul who stays when everyone else has left, the heart that continues to love, even when it has been broken, the spirit that rises not through conquest, but through compassion. They are not only the guardians of emotion, they are the architects of emotional evolution. Through them, humanity remembers what it means to feel fully, to love without armor, to return home not to a place, but to the truth of who we are. Cancer holds within its essence a power often misunderstood not because it is hidden, but because it operates in a realm that most refuse to enter, the realm of emotional mastery, sacred devotion, and invisible strength. While the world races forward chasing fire and glory, Cancer flows inward and downward, diving into the sacred depths where roots are nourished and true foundations are laid. They are not here to entertain the surface of life. They are here to anchor its soul. There is nothing passive about the stillness they carry. It is the stillness of the ocean's floor, where creation begins and transformation is nurtured from the unseen. One of the most overlooked powers of Cancer is their relationship with silence. Not the silence of retreat, but the sacred silence of knowing. They possess an internal cathedral, vast and echoing with ancient wisdom, and they return to it often, not out of fear, but out of reverence. Their silences are not absences. They are sanctuaries of reflection, spaces where emotion can rise and truth can speak without interruption. In their quietude lies a message, that one does not need to shout to be heard by the universe, that clarity is born in still waters, and that a whisper from the soul can shift more than 1,000 empty declarations. Cancer also holds a deep connection to dreams, not merely the ones found in sleep, but the soul dreams that come through visions, longings, and the gentle tug of destiny. They walk in both waking and dreaming worlds with ease. This makes them oracles in their own right, receivers of divine instruction through imagery, emotion, and symbol. They do not always understand their own visions at first, but they trust their currents. When they move toward what calls them, no matter how intangible, they often find themselves led to exactly what was needed, not only for their own healing, but for the healing of others. They are dream keepers, the ones who protect fragile hopes until they are strong enough to live. Their emotional memory is unparalleled. Cancer remembers the forgotten, the cast aside, the unspoken moments that shaped a lifetime. This is not clinging to the past, it is emotional archaeology. They excavate buried truths and give them breath again. In a world that asks us to constantly move on, Cancer teaches us to move through. They remind us that healing is not erasure, that closure is not forgetting, and that the past, when honored, can become a source of immense power. They are the curators of emotional legacy, ensuring that no part of our becoming is ever truly lost. Their loyalty, which others may trivialize or take for granted, is not an accident. It is a soul vow. Once Cancer has opened the gates of their heart to you, they do not close them lightly. They do not engage halfway. When they love, it is with a level of completeness that transforms both giver and receiver. Their love is protection, nourishment, and spiritual commitment in its purest form. This devotion does not only belong to romantic relationships. It extends to their causes, their work, their creativity. Whatever they pour themselves into receives the full cathedral of their care. Cancer's emotional intelligence is often misjudged as sentimentality, yet it is one of their greatest weapons. They can read a room not by what is said, but by what is felt. They know the difference between a smile and a mask. They sense when someone is saying yes while their soul is screaming no. This emotional X-ray vision allows them to move through the world with a kind of precision that defies logic. They are not fooled by appearances because they live in the realm beneath them. This ability gives them a distinct advantage, especially in a world increasingly obsessed with surfaces and speed. There is also a deeply spiritual warrior within Cancer, forged in the crucible of emotional trials. Many born under this sign have lived through profound losses, betrayals, and heartbreaks. But these are not scars they carry in shame. They are sacred marks of passage. Every wound becomes a rite, every fall a prayer. Through these, Cancer becomes more than just a sign of empathy. They become a vessel of transmutation. They transform sorrow into strength, tears into medicine, and loneliness into soul callings. They do not crumble beneath the weight of life. They become life's sanctified bearers. What sets Cancer apart is not their ability to feel, but their refusal to abandon that ability no matter how much the world demands it. While others shield themselves with cynicism, Cancer returns again and again to the heart. They choose to feel, to care, to believe in love even after heartbreak. This is not fragility, it is resurrection. The courage to be vulnerable in a world of armor is nothing short of divine rebellion. Their sensitivity is not a liability. It is the threshold through which miracles enter. Cancer's legacy is one of sacred stewardship. They are here not to conquer, but to protect. Not to destroy, but to cradle what is sacred in this world and shield it from the forces that would strip it of its magic. Whether they are raising children, healing others, creating art, or simply listening with presence, they are safeguarding the divine essence of humanity. In a world that often forgets its soul, Cancer remembers. And in their remembering, they call us all back home. They are the lunar guardians of love's eternal truth, that to feel is to live, to protect is to serve, and to care is the highest act of power. They are the tide that reshapes the shore not with force, but with persistence. The moonlight that softens the night not with fire, but with presence. The heart that heals not by fixing, but by witnessing. And in this they are eternal, not because they do not change, but because they change in rhythm with the cosmos, never abandoning their essence as they evolve. Cancer is not the shell. Cancer is the sacred life within it, the sacred current that flows when all else stands still. In a world addicted to the visible, Cancer remains loyal to the invisible, to the soul, to the pulse of what makes us whole. And in doing so, they lead us home not to comfort but to truth, not to escape but to remembrance, not to weakness, but to the holy strength of the heart awakened. Cancer's essence holds the ancient rhythm of the womb and the cosmos, the pulse of creation itself echoing through its archetype. What often escapes the perception of the world is Cancer's intrinsic relationship with divine timing and emotional sovereignty. Their life path is not governed by linear progress or external validation, but by an internal moon clock that aligns them with the sacred unfolding of destiny. They do not rush, for they instinctively know that everything is born when the soul is ripe. This innate pacing is not delay, it is divine orchestration. The world may see hesitation, but the truth is strategy rooted in wisdom deeper than logic. Cancer does not leap without feeling the sacred tremble of intuition guiding the step. In this, they are not late bloomers. They are soul gardeners, tending to invisible roots until the bloom arrives in its full, undeniable radiance. Their relationship with love transcends the romantic ideals often projected onto them. Cancer does not seek love for completion. They are already whole. What they seek is resonance, a vibration of truth, safety, and sacred remembrance. In love, they are not passive dreamers but alchemical creators. They birth emotional sanctuaries, temples of vulnerability and trust where another soul can finally exhale and unfold. To be loved by Cancer is to be seen in your rawest, most unfiltered state and still be held with unwavering devotion. Their love is a force of rebirth. It does not decorate the ego, it awakens the soul. When they choose to offer their love, they are not giving a piece of themselves, they are offering you entranced to something holy. Cancer's humor, often underestimated or dismissed, is another sacred tool in their emotional arsenal. It is not surface-level comedy. It is soul medicine. Their laughter is born from the deep places, from having seen shadow and still choosing light. Their wit is sharp but gentle, knowing when to soften sorrow and when to hold the silence. They are the storytellers who weave tragedy and triumph into a single thread, turning life's deepest pains into wisdom-laced tales that remind others of the beauty in simply surviving. Their humor is ancestral, passed down from spirits who learned to laugh even under heavy skies. Through it, they uplift others not by avoiding the dark, but by carrying light into it. Cancer's sensitivity to injustice is another rarely explored facet of their power. Their protective instinct does not end at the gates of their loved ones. It extends into the collective. They carry the weight of the world not because they want to, but because they are encoded to respond. Their empathy is not weakness, it is revolution. They are the quiet activists, the soul warriors who nurture the wounded, amplify the voiceless, and rebuild what has been broken. While others march with fire, Cancer walks with water, healing, cooling, washing wounds with presence and care. They are the undercurrent of every movement rooted in compassion. Their activism is not loud, but it is enduring, and in that, it changes worlds. In the creative realm, Cancer channels not simply talent, but soul memory. They create not for the sake of creation, but because it is how they process, how they pray, how they transmute pain into purpose. Their creations often carry a signature of timelessness, because they are not creating from the mind alone. They are channeling emotional truths that belong to the collective unconscious. Their art, whether expressed through words, food, song, or space, has the power to make others feel less alone in the world. And that is their gift, making others feel at home, even within themselves. The maternal frequency of Cancer is often tied to gender, but it transcends form. Regardless of physical identity, they carry the cosmic mother within. This is not about nurturing in the domestic sense alone. It is about rebirthing hope, tending to the forgotten, and offering sanctuary to a world that often devours itself. The Cancerian archetype is the holy guardian of tenderness in a time that worships harshness. They are proof that one does not have to become hard to survive. They are the fierce defenders of softness, reminding us all that gentleness is not the absence of power, it is its most sacred refinement. There is also a profound adaptability within Cancer that is often overlooked due to their association with tradition and memory. They adapt not by detaching, but by deepening. Like water, they shift shape to fit their container without ever losing essence. They are not afraid of change, they fear disconnection. As long as the emotional thread remains intact, they can journey into the unknown and emerge wiser. Their ability to endure transformation while preserving sacred values makes them eternal. While others are consumed by the fires of reinvention, Cancer is reborn again and again by returning to the heart. Cancer also holds a sacred link to the unseen realms, ancestral spirits, forgotten histories, emotional residues that linger long after a moment has passed. They are spiritual mediums, whether or not they identify as such. They walk in communion with the dead, the unborn, and the deeply dreaming. Their intuition is a direct line to cosmic archives where all emotional knowledge resides. This is why they often just know, without needing explanation. They are not pulling from intellect but from the river of all that has ever been felt. When they speak from this place, their words are oracles, echoes of truths long buried in silence. The sole mission of Cancer is not to be understood, but to remember, and to help others remember. Remember what it means to feel without fear. Remember the sanctity of home, not as a place, but as a state of soul. Remember that care is a form of cosmic intelligence. That vulnerability is the birthplace of every divine act. That softness, when chosen, becomes sacred armor. In the age of overstimulation and fragmentation, Cancer remains whole by refusing to abandon the heart. In the age of conquest, they teach restoration. In the age of noise, they choose resonance. They are not the past clinging to life. They are the ancient wisdom guiding us into a future that does not sacrifice soul for speed. Through Cancer, we remember that the most revolutionary act is to feel, and to keep feeling until the world becomes tender again. Their legacy is not carved in monuments, but in the hearts they have held, the spaces they have sanctified, the emotions they have dignified. Their power is not temporal, it is eternal. It does not shout, but it endures. It does not dazzle, but it heals. And in a world that desperately needs remembering, Cancer is the lighthouse in the fog, the tide that returns what has been lost, the heartbeat that reminds humanity it is still alive. There is a sacred architecture within the soul of Cancer that defies the expectations and limitations of the external world. This zodiacal force, ruled by the moon, is not just a sign. It is a frequency, a living breath that moves through time with the elegance of emotional intelligence and the unshakable strength of cosmic ancestry. What the world often fails to see is that Cancer does not exist merely to reflect light, but to cultivate it in the unseen, to hold the sacred fire beneath the surface where few dare to go. Their realm is not one of performance, but of presence. They do not shine to be seen, they shine to heal. Cancer possesses a mysticism that eludes explanation. It is woven into the fabric of their being, a sensitivity so profound it borders on the clairvoyant. They sense before the senses. They know without knowing how. Their connection to the moon is more than poetic. It is cellular, a gravitational pull that binds them to the rhythms of birth, death, ebb, and rise. In every phase of the lunar cycle, they are reborn with new emotional insight. Each waxing and waning serves not to confuse them, but to align them more deeply with the cyclical truth of existence. They are not erratic. They are lunar navigators, fluent in the sacred spiral of becoming. What is often overlooked is their relationship with sacred thresholds. Cancer lives at the edges between past and future, between life and death, between what is spoken and what is deeply felt. They are the gatekeepers of transition, the midwives of transformation. Whether they guide someone through heartbreak, illness, birth, or spiritual awakening, they do so with a grace that defies logic. They hold space where others flee. They remain when others abandon. They absorb pain not because they are martyrs, but because they are healers coded to transmute it. Their presence during moments of threshold is a kind of alchemy that reshapes the soul and blesses the path ahead. Cancer carries within them the lineage of the priestess, the guardian, the wisdom keeper, the elder, even in youth. There is an old soul energy that radiates from their being, a knowledge that they have walked this earth many times before. They speak not only with their voice, but with their eyes, their silence, their embrace. When Cancer looks at you, it is not just the present self that sees. It is the 1,000 ancestors who live in their bones, whispering through their gaze, reminding you of who you are. There is medicine in their way of seeing. It strips you of illusion, calls the soul to attention. It does not flatter, it sanctifies. Their inner world is a cathedral, rich with sacred symbols, unspoken longings, and timeless truths. This is not escapism, it is devotion. They turn inward because the soul speaks in quiet. They retreat not to hide, but to hear. In a world where constant motion is worshipped, Cancer dares to pause, dares to feel, dares to allow the ache of existence to be cradled instead of denied. Their introspection is not passivity, it is ritual. Each memory revisited is a prayer. Each emotion honored is a resurrection. They carry the emotional DNA of humanity and treat it with reverence, as one would a sacred text. Cancer's empathy, so frequently mistaken for emotional overwhelm, is actually an advanced form of spiritual technology. They do not simply mirror the feelings of others. They metabolize them, translate them, and send them back purified through their love. Their tears are not signs of weakness but baptisms of truth. When they weep, they are releasing centuries of collective grief through a single heart. When they hold you, they are not simply offering comfort, they are performing soul surgery. Their care is not casual. It is sacred work. In their relationship with home, we see the true mastery of Cancer as a builder of energetic foundations. Home, for them, is not a place. It is a frequency of safety, nourishment, and sacred return. They are architects of sanctuary, whether that sanctuary is a physical space, a conversation, or a moment of silence shared under the stars. They turn the mundane into the sacred, infusing daily life with rituals of remembrance and comfort. Through them, the concept of home becomes a spell of healing, a place where all fragmented pieces of the self can return and be made whole. There is also a fierce and holy rage within Cancer, rarely acknowledged yet vital to their essence. This is not rage for the sake of destruction, but rage as sacred fire, defense of the innocent, protection of the sacred, fury on behalf of the voiceless. Their anger is often quiet, but it is immovable. It does not seek to dominate, it seeks to restore. When Cancer rises in their righteous power, they become tidal forces, undoing false structures and washing away what no longer serves truth. They do not burn bridges carelessly, but when they do, it is because those bridges led to places of harm. And once Cancer has closed a door for good, it is sealed with sacred finality. In times of collective despair, Cancer emerges as a beacon not of empty optimism but of real hope, the kind forged through darkness, the kind sung from within the storm. They teach by embodiment that one can feel deeply and still rise, that one can lose and still love, that one can ache and still offer sanctuary. They are the prophets of resilience who remind humanity that the softest hearts can endure the hardest battles and come through luminous. Cancer's legacy is inscribed not in titles or accolades but in the emotional blueprints they leave behind. The children they raise into wholeness, the friends they nurture into self-belief, the strangers they touch with an act of kindness that changes a day or a life. They will not always be named in stories of conquest, but they will be remembered in moments of grace. They are the hidden saints, the emotional architects of generations, the quiet revolution that remakes the world not through force, but through care. To walk the path of Cancer is to walk with the moon at your back and the ocean in your chest. It is to carry the lineage of every mother, every mystic, every healer who ever lived. It is to move through life not as a warrior seeking battle, but as a guardian protecting the sacred flame of humanity. And in doing so, Cancer does not just survive this world. They rebirth it, again and again, into something softer, wiser, and more whole.